So we're here today with Peter Bull at the Boston Data Festival and ODSC event. Welcome, Peter.
Thank you.
So Peter, you just gave a very popular talk. I was walking by that room and I caught the last part of it, very well attended. Can you tell us about your talk today?
Yeah, so I talked about using data science in the social sector, so the ways in which you can apply the tools and methodologies of the data scientist to problems that have a social impact.
Excellent. And can you give us a little more detail about what you covered in your talk?
Yeah, so the talk had three parts. The first was about the context of data in the social sector, how it's being used now, and what are the challenges to applying data science techniques, and also to getting access to data scientists for nonprofits and governments and NGOs. And then the second part was a set of case studies about the kinds of projects people are working on right now. And then the third part was all the different ways in which you can get involved in data for good work. There are lots of ways to volunteer your time, your skills, or even start working in the social sector. And so I wanted to share those different methods with this audience in case they were interested in that.
And you run Driven Data.
Yes.
A great organization. Can you give us a bit of a background about the history, how it came about, what genesis of it?
Yeah, so Driven Data, our mission is to bring the power of data science to the social sector. So what we do right now is run online data science competitions where we take an organization's data and we take a problem they have and we structure it as a supervised machine learning challenge. And we put it up online so that data scientists from around the world can compete to come up with the best solution for this problem. And in exchange for winning, we give them some prize money. They give us the solution, which we then open source. And then we help that organization to implement the solution so they can actually use the results of this in their operations going forward.
That's fantastic. And so you kind of like the Kaggle for social good.
Exactly,
That's
yep.
Great. And you mentioned machine learning. Why machine learning, so to speak?
So machine learning, in part because it's a great way to structure a competition that communicates an idea very clearly to the data science community. So we do the iterative work with an organization to look at their data sources, to look at the challenges that they have in achieving their mission, right, and try to align the data they actually have to the problems they're having. And then we structure that as a machine learning competition, which is something that data scientists around the world very easily can understand. They see the point of, they get whether it's a classification question or a regression question, and they see what that impact will be of solving this problem.
That's great. Any particular examples or competitions you're particularly fond of?
Yeah, so we just finished one with the city of Boston, where they send public health inspectors to restaurants, right? And they're looking for people who aren't wearing their gloves or food that's not at the right temperature. And right now, they pick a handful of restaurants, and they do it sort of based on inspection history and intuition and some randomness, and just go on any given day and look for these violations. Yes. And so we were seeing if there's a more effective way to use these inspection resources by looking at the clues that consumers are leaving online. So every day you have hundreds of people going to every restaurant, right?
Exactly.
And a lot of them are leaving reviews on Yelp.
Right.
And so what we did is we partnered with Yelp and got about 4 years of historical reviews for all the restaurants in Boston. And then we paired that up with the inspection results from Boston's open data portal. And we challenged people to look for the words and the phrases and the patterns in foot traffic and the amount of money, the kind of cuisine, to try to predict which restaurants were most likely to have hygiene violations based on these other signals that would be very hard traditionally for that public health department to incorporate.
I know that's a great example. What was the end result of that? Are they still using that?
Yeah, so that just wrapped up, and so we're evaluating the winning submissions right now. But in rough terms, the winning submission gets about 75% accuracy in predicting whether or not a restaurant will have over or under the median number of violations for an inspection, which is 4 violations. So yeah.
So switching gears a little bit, Peter, give us your 30-second bio.
Yeah, so my undergrad major was philosophy, which is sort of where that for good portion comes from. But after I graduated from college, I went and worked at Microsoft for a number of years, doing more traditional software engineering, first on Office and then on SharePoint. But I was getting more involved and more interested in data questions there, and felt like I really needed a firmer theoretical understanding than what I had. And so I went back to grad school, and I did a master's degree at Harvard School of Engineering in computational science. And while I was there, I started Driven Data, and I've been doing this since then.
Very good. Yeah, you guys have got a fantastic reputation. So what gets you out of bed in the morning? What excites you about your work?
Yeah, so right now, working in data for good is a super, super, super exciting space. And that's because the social sector lags behind the commercial sector, 5 or 10 years in their applications of technology. So you think about the machine learning boom that happened in the commercial sector in like 2005, right? That's when the Netflix recommendation engine got really good. That's when the Amazon recommendation engine got really good. That's when like the Google search autocomplete came out, right? So there are all these applications that people were starting to do in the commercial sector then. And so it's like that feeling, but in the social sector now, where there are people who are starting to say, oh, wow, I can apply this technique on this data set we haven't looked at before to solve this mission-driven problem. And so it's really exciting to be doing that kind of R&D work, and working in a space that feels like it's early enough where the ideas really matter.
Nice, I can see the enthusiasm. So, one of the things we often ask data scientists is, do they believe data science can have an impact? But obviously, you and your company are in the development of that. So, what are the plans for the future?
So yeah, we've got more competitions in the work that will be launching very soon. And we're looking for other creative ways to connect the data science community and that data science technical capacity to nonprofits, NGOs, and governments. There's just so much opportunity there. And I think there's a real appetite from the community. And so we want to make those connections happen.
Absolutely. I think you're in a great space because, data science, for all intents and purposes, some people argue it's always been around, just a different label, but it is somewhat of a nascent field. University degrees coming online all the time. And people are always looking for experience. So I think this is a great way for people to, who are up-and-coming data scientists, to get involved, work with data, make an impact. So in your talk, you mentioned quite a number of examples, and we will have your slides online, but can you talk about a few of your favorite?
Yeah.
People get involved, that they can get involved?
Definitely. So you can get involved. There are lots of data for good organizations that are popping up where you can do sort of pro bono work. There are data science fellowships where you can go either for a year, or if you're a student, go for a summer. And get a data science for good project handed to you that then you work on for that time period. So you can donate your time in that way. And then things like the machine learning competitions we run, where you can contribute from home whenever you've got the chance, and make your contributions that way, depending on how much time you have and how local things are. So there are tons of great ways to get involved. And actually, what you were saying about the machine learning competitions being good ways to learn data science is something that really resonates for me, because one of the things I did in my talk was, as I looked at a set of methods, was ask, who's heard of this method? And on average, 70% of the room raised their hand. And then who's actually used this method when they were tackling a problem? And maybe 30% of the room kept their hands up. And so the machine learning competitions are great ways to actually apply these things you read about, you heard in a talk, to a new problem that you haven't looked at before. And the data's cleaned for you, and you know what the question is.
That's a huge time savings right there. It makes life easy, because no one likes clean data and having to find
That's right.
stuff. But listen, Peter, great talk you gave today. Great organization. Best of luck in the future.
Thank you so much. Really nice.